A very good afternoon, my name is Benjamin and welcome to this first actual breakdown video. Because the previous two breakdowns were very different from each other, this is how a breakdown is really gonna happen. So let's not waste any more time and let's get straight to it. Few things before we start, since this is pretty much a renewed series, there's a few things to know. This video is not a tutorial, it's only showing you the things you can keep in mind, some cool tricks, and just a basic overview on compositing. Also in the corner you'll see the tools, filters and other things I use in that particular step. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. I asked you which of these two pictures I should break down. It was pretty equal and that's why I chose this one myself, because I think this one is definitely more interesting. So let's break it down and build it up from scratch. So in the very beginning, it started out with this image.
You serious?
I already had some other images ready and that's why I cut this out and made it a bit darker so it would match better. Then I copied that image and positioned it to the right side. I added the same effects on this one as I did for the first. Now I added the main background image. So first I masked out the edges with a soft brush and then I applied hue and saturation for the colors, brightness and contrast to make it slightly darker, and levels to take out some black. After this I added the next picture, copied it and moved it to the other side. These two I masked out and added hue and saturation to take out most of the color and to light them up quite a bit. Then I put two more pictures in there, two of the same which I already masked out, and to these two I also applied hue and saturation. Now this is where the background came in. I removed some of its color with vibrance and immediately added another image. I used hue and saturation to make it light and soft and made sure it was only visible at the sides by using a layer mask. I figured there should be at least some birds in the sky, so I added those too. I used blend if to remove the white and decreased its opacity by 50%. Then I duplicated that a few times and moved them around a bit. For the background haze, I created a new solid color and painted over its mask with a big soft brush. For the dust, I did the same, but I changed the solid color to a sandy yellow-orange color. Then I clipped some adjustment layers to the left main image. I took some black out of the card, added some bloom to the building roof and darkened the front of the building because the light came from above. Here I added the image of the guitar. I masked it out and changed its color and lighting with color balance, brightness and contrast, and hue and saturation. For the shadow, I created a solid color, brought the opacity down to like 48% and brushed a nice shape in its mask. In the distance there was way too much of detail and darkness going on, so I created another solid color, decreased the opacity till 73% and used a very big soft brush for the mask. I added the big sign in the background and as soon as I saw that text I just had to change it to Old Town Road. To match it with the rest I added levels to take out the black, brightness and contrast for the lightness, hue and saturation for the highlights and a solid color for its small shadow. Then I put the running girl in there and I made sure that she was behind the wheel, so I masked that out and used vibrance and hue and saturation for her color correction. And then finally the main horse. I masked it out and added a shitload of smart filters, and I honestly don't really know why, because it doesn't seem like there's all that much of a change, but anyway. Then I changed some details like desaturating her face, changing her shirt color to blue and lighting up that dirt down there. And this is where my famous highlights came in. For its shadow, and this is actually kinda interesting, I duplicated the horse and used hue and saturation to literally make it look black, and then I transformed it to this position. Then I used a huge soft brush in a layer mask to make it fade out a bit, and I used blur gallery to make it look like it's a bit blurrier at the end. I also added some dust by creating another solid color and painting it with a smoke brush. I have no idea where I got that from, I just randomly had it. By the way, if you need some cool brushes but you don't want to spend any money on them, make sure to check out Brush Easy, link in description, it's great. So back to the video, I added this dirt image and I made it look like it's flying up by using Blur Gallery's Path Blur, which allows you to get nice motion blur in multiple directions. Then I turned on color overlay on that layer so that its color looks similar to the sand. And now it was time for the next horse. Again I cut it out, used levels to take away some black and color balance and curves for the colors. And of course also the highlights by using hue and saturation. For its shadow I did the Great. For its shadow I did the exact same thing as before. I copied the layer, turned it black, transformed it and masked it out and blurred it. Then also for the flying dirt, the exact same thing as I did before, and guess what? That dust? Exact same thing as before. And for the cards, I cut it out destructively so I can't show you the whole image anymore, whoops. But the color correction I used hue and saturation, color balance, levels for the blacks and exposure for the light. Then the highlights, obviously hue and saturation, and for the shadow on the ground I used an alone standing exposure adjustment layer. The final image in the background, I masked it out and applied levels to take away the blacks. For the highlights I used hue and saturation again, for the haze effect too, and for the smoke a solid color. And now I felt it was time for the camera raw filter, so I copied and merged everything together. I did some tweaking in camera raw and then this happened. And you think it's done now, but hell no, it's still one step ahead. So I duplicated that layer again and I added the glowing edges filter gallery effect. Wow. Then I set the blend mode of this layer to screen, which makes sure the black is filtered out so you only see the not black stuff. Obviously this looked awful, so I inverted the layer mask so it hides everything and painted only on the edges, and this was the result. So there you go, that's pretty much how I did this. If you like this kind of videos, let me know by leaving a comment or liking this video. Also, if you like this content, feel free to subscribe and ring that bell so that you don't miss anything. Then I hope I'll see you in my next video.